SDG6 Clean Water and Sanitation.
When we talk about Sustainable Development Goal 6, we are fundamentally addressing a massive global challenge. The core mission of SDG6 is to ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. This includes 8 targets focusing on water supply, sanitation, sustainable water resource management, and establishing an enabling environment. The aspiration is clear: universal access to safe drinking water, Target 6.1, and sanitation and hygiene, Target 6.2, by 2030. However, the data confirms that global progress is drastically insufficient. As we approach the final 5 years of the SDG period, the world is severely off track. For 2 billion people, the lack of access to safe drinking water is not an occasional issue, but an everyday reality.
The numbers are sobering. In 2024, 2.1 billion people still lacked safely managed drinking water, while 3.4 billion people lacked safely managed sanitation services. Furthermore, 106 million people were still relying on surface water for drinking in 2024.
To achieve universal coverage of safely managed drinking water by 2030, the current rate of progress must be increased 6-fold. For safely managed sanitation, progress needs a 5-fold increase. Without this radical acceleration, basic water and sanitation targets will not be met, potentially resulting in the annual preventable deaths of more than 250,000 children from diarrhea alone.
Target 6.1 focuses on ensuring universal and equitable access to safe and affordable drinking water for all. The highest standard, safely managed drinking water service, means that the water must come from an improved source, be accessible on premises, available when needed, and free from contamination.
And Target 6.2 addresses sanitation and hygiene, aiming to achieve access to adequate and equitable sanitation and hygiene for all and end open defecation. Safely managed sanitation requires the use of improved facilities that are not shared with other households and where waste is safely treated or disposed of.
Despite significant gains, 2.2 billion people gained access to safely managed drinking water between 2000 and 2024. Major gaps remain, particularly regarding open defecation. Globally, 354 million people still practiced open defecation in 2024.
That failure to achieve adequate sanitation undermines progress on clean water. The continued practice of open defecation is highest in certain countries, such as Chad, 63%, Niger, 65%, and South Sudan, 60% in 2022, highlighting where gender inequalities are likely to be greatest. When sanitation goals aren't met, waterborne diseases flourish. The main obstacle to acceleration seems to be funding. Action Against Hunger's report highlights a pattern of inconsistent and unreliable funding for WASH programs. The global community needs to accelerate progress on water and sanitation programs by quadrupling the current rate.
The sheer scale of the needed investment is staggering. Estimates suggest the total capital cost of meeting targets 6.1 and 6.2 by 2030 is approximately $114 billion per year, which is about 3 times the current investment levels. Government leaders are being urgently called upon to commit to long-term, predictable funding for systems-level water and sanitation services.
However, this funding should be seen as a smart economic decision, not just an expense. World Bank estimates show that for every dollar spent on water and sanitation, an average of $4 is returned in economic benefits. Prioritizing WASH is one of the most cost-effective ways to create a healthier and more resilient society.
Investing in robust water systems is also crucial due to environmental pressures. Climate change is accelerating the crisis by intensifying droughts and floods, making safe water scarcer and damaging essential infrastructure. This vulnerability is directly linked to health crises, as evidenced by the worldwide upsurge in cholera, with a new case reported every 45 seconds in 2023.
The SDG6 commitment is built on the promise to leave no one behind. We see huge disparities based on income and location. In low-income countries, achieving universal access to basic sanitation requires an 18-fold increase in the current rate of progress.
The difference between fragile and non-fragile contexts is stark. In fragile contexts, safely managed drinking water coverage is 38 percentage points lower compared to non-fragile countries. Similarly, basic hygiene coverage is 37 percentage points lower, demonstrating persistent challenges in vulnerable situations.
Gender is explicitly linked to SDG 6.2, which requires paying special attention to the needs of women and girls and those in vulnerable situations. Disproportionate responsibility for water collection often falls on women and girls.
That burden is measurable. In sub-Saharan Africa and Central and Southern Asia, women and girls are more likely to spend over 30 minutes per day collecting water than men and boys. Additionally, water insecurity experiences, IY scores, were found to be higher among women in countries like Cameroon. Furthermore, menstrual health, MH, is tightly linked to SDG 6.2. Data shows that adolescent girls and women in the poorest wealth quintile are more likely to lack a private place to wash and change menstrual materials at home.
Achieving SDG 6 necessitates strengthening governance, Target 6.5, and focusing on water use efficiency, Target 6.4. The realization of effective long-term solutions requires building trust between government, the private sector, and local communities.
Indeed, long-term sustainable solutions rely on a combination of infrastructure investment and robust hygiene behavior change programs. This is highlighted by the observation that hygiene practices often revert back to pre-crisis levels once immediate shocks pass.
Looking at national examples like Rwanda, we see localized progress monitoring. On SDG 6.1, 82.3% of households in Rwanda have access to improved sources of drinking water. The country targets having 50% of users with water supplied on their premises by 2029, up from 18.2% presently.
And for sanitation, SDG 6.2, Rwanda reports that 92% of households have improved sanitary facilities, with 72% using unshared toilets. However, global progress remains constrained by governance issues like the low implementation degree of integrated water resources management, Target 6.5.1, with 60% of 172 countries reporting low implementation levels in 2018.
The discourse used by powerful institutions can even obscure challenges. In studies focusing on the Jordanian mining industry, national government and extractive organizations construct a culturally intuitive, appealing, and persuasive discourse which externalizes the causes of water scarcity, blaming a natural environment or socioeconomic and political factors.
This manipulation of discourse potentially hinders the achievement of several targets, including 6.4, water use and scarcity, and 6.5, water resource management. This highlights why SDG 6.6, focused on protecting and restoring ecosystems, is so crucial. Its fulfillment, which incorporates international cooperation, 6A1, and stakeholder participation, 6B1, is considered essential for achieving all other SDG 6 targets.